5 games you should probably play on the Sega Dreamcast. If you've got a Dreamcast in the cupboard, or perhaps you're thinking of buying one, this is just a little guide to 5 games I think you should probably buy that are fairly affordable for the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast, of course, the console that pretty much sunk Sega as a hardware business today, only a software publisher. And where else to begin but Crazy Taxi, the arcade smash, probably one of Sega's last big arcade smashes, to tell the truth, that was ported to the Dreamcast because the arcade machine had pretty much similar hardware to the Dreamcast.
Hey, come on over, have some fun with Crazy Taxi!
It is, of course, an arcade game at heart designed to swallow your money. So this isn't like games like Grand Theft Auto you're going to sit down and play for days on end. It's a score attack type game against the clock, although there are different game modes on the Dreamcast version. It has this amazing soundtrack, and what you do is go around town, pick up players who are looking for rides, and they will have a little circle around them with green if it's an easy journey they need to make, or if you need to a harder journey is orange and then a hard journey is red. You can go by arcade rules and have different time limits, and you can select different car with different characters as well. So I'm going to go for BD Joe, and that fantastic sound and music you get all the time, it's so synonymous with the game. There we go, it's an orange one, so off we go, and the arrow will point out where you need to go. There's a patent on the arrow as well. It's US patent 6,200,138, described as game display method, moving direction indicating method, game apparatus and driving simulating apparatus, and that was registered in 2001 by Sega. The quicker you get your passengers there, the more money you earn. So we've already got $329. We've got to find our next taxi. We've got 431 seconds of game time. Follow the arrow and off we go. And because the crazier the ride, the more tips the person gives you. So close passes with cars jumping in the air and all sorts. They seem to love it. You and I wouldn't like it, but no, they seem to enjoy that kind of thing. The fare you're going to get, although you're never going to keep your eye on it, is in the top right there. Top of the mark. Oh, yep, hit the brakes, and we get a tip, and yep, we're up to $715. And the graphics engine is so smooth. And if you are watching this in America or Japan or other countries like that, yes, ChinnyVision is in the UK, and we run most of the time in 50 Hz. 50 frames a second, so it'll be slightly slower than the version you have. Sorry about that, it's just various reasons that it's just easier to do ChinnyVision in 50 frames a second. Crazy Taxi is an absolutely fantastic game. It's not a game you're going to play for days on end, but it's a pick up and play game, and I pick it up every year or so and give it a blast. It's really good, and I've just missed a thing where I need to jump over the park there for more crazy money. Of course, Crazy Taxi is available on the GameCube as well. Not the point. This is the system to own it on. Fighting games, Street Fighter 2 and the ilk, going all the way back to Way of the Exploding Fist. And I never thought I would see a game that I would enjoy as much as Street Fighter 2, but I was wrong when I saw Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, which for my money is still one of the best fighting games around, with a hardcore fighting people find it a little bit simplistic. It looks amazing here on the Dreamcast. I saw Soul Calibur 2 running on my friend's PS2, and it looked nowhere near as good as Soul Calibur 1 on Dreamcast. The reason being, the Dreamcast version of the first game had bolder colours and anti-aliasing as well, which made the newer console look pretty poor. Yes, the PS2 graphics were more detailed, but Soul Calibur 1 just looked better on a big standard definition TV.
to the stage of history.
As with all these games, there's various characters you can play, and you will favour some over others. And, of course, we can play as Zanshu, if I'm pronouncing that right, a character who, from memory, most of the rendering time on the 3D models has been spent on her bottom. But we'll see that in a minute. Bottoms aside, it's positive to see female fighters in these games, and you get this voiceover as well all the way through the game. It sounds a little bit scratchy, but then they're all having to fit this onto a Dreamcast CD. What they call, they had a special name. I don't remember what they were called, but there's not much storage on one of those discs, so they're having to cut down some of the audio to make it all work.
You win!
Lots of different characters on the game. Saranthus is the pirate with 2 swords who throws them around. They've all got special moves. It's a really good fighting game, and a really good one to play as a 2-player game as well. Even today. I do question the practicality of some of the costumes. Ivy here, I mean, that costume's got to ride up for a start. It's completely impractical for this kind of fighting. I should do some basic research on producing these games. And as for Valdo with his knives for fingers, I mean, yeah, fair enough. Good for fighting. If you've got to scratch your nose, you're going to have your nose off. To this day, I think Soul Calibur still stands up as an exceptional fighter, although hardcore fighting game fans will probably find it too simplistic. The Pickford brothers, king of the 8-bit games, Zub, Feud, and, well, they moved on to the 32-bit consoles with Wetrix, a game that first came out on the N64 and was ported eventually to the Dreamcast and regarded as the definitive version. Wetrix is a puzzle game, but don't let that put you off. This is one of the best games on the system, one of my favourite games of all time. I viewed it for ChinnyVision around episode 50, something like that, and no one wanted to watch it. No one was particularly interested, which was a shame, because this is a really good game that every Dreamcast owner should have. It also came out, as I say, on the N64, Windows, the Game Boy Color, very cut down version, not at all like this, and also came out on the N64 as the first version. Shapes fall from the sky, and eventually it will start raining, and you have to contain the water. If the water falls off the side of the map, that little tube thing on the right fills up, and when it fills up completely, you have lost. So the aim of the game is basically, control the water. It's raining now, and hopefully not too much is escaping at the moment. The more ponds you have, the more points you get, and things like bombs fall from the sky and blow up into the landscape, but you don't want that. And there you go, things fall from the sky as well, melt the water, or not melt. You can have things that freeze the water, you can have things that blow holes in the landscape, you can have meteorites that evaporate all the water. And it gets harder and more frantic, and all the time the earthquake meter on the left hand side, as you load more area onto the map, that increases until there's an earthquake and it all goes mad. The levels slowly increase, so we're now on level 2, we've got 2 lakes on the go, and I've already lost. Wetrix is a fantastic game, and one you need to play for a little bit to get into, and once you start to get into the zone, levels start going up, the outside world starts to shut off, and you just get into this absolutely fantastic game. Get it. We've covered Jet Set Willy on ChinnyVision. This is Jet Set Radio, the first cel-shaded game for computer, I believe, and it's basically you have to tag things and you're doing inline skating. You explore this kind of 3D environment. I'm not very good at Jet Set Radio, to be honest, so don't expect me to show too far into this game. It actually makes me motion sick. That's just a me thing. You'll be absolutely fine with it. I've tried to play it so much and I absolutely love it, but I end up feeling ill after 15 minutes. Some games just do that to me. I don't know why, and Jet Set Radio is one that just really affects me. Also, the reason I never cover Shenmue on the channel, because I own copies of it, that gets me within about 2 minutes. I feel incredibly ill. This is GG's Turf, and I'm not going to try and pronounce names, so you start off with a lovely tutorial, and look at the graphics. They are cel shaded. They're so unique. You see more of this kind of thing today on your handheld games on your iPhone or Android device. But just look how wonderful these characters look, and the animation and the sound. Just that kind of thing Sega was so good at. No other console manufacturer would have games like this on their system. It's one of those Sega things. Yes, the 3D world is very much of its time very basic. When you look at those cel shaded, but when you look at those cel shaded characters within the game itself, such as your character, that doesn't really look as dated at all as the backgrounds and buildings and cars and things. It just looks so nice. I can just look at this game without playing it. It's so lovely. It's one of those games you really have to own if you have a Dreamcast, if only to look at it. It's gorgeous. Choo Choo Rocket, I believe Choo Choo is Japanese for mice or mouse, and you have to get the mice into the rocket. It's a game produced by Sonic Team, actually. Came out in 1999 and was the first game for the system to support online play via that modem thing that's built into the console. And you've got to place arrows on the map to guide the mice to the rocket, or sometimes you have to guide other things around to eat the mice and so on. And the time limits are not very forgiving at all, but you can replay each level as many times as you like. That's what you do, you set that up and the mice are in there and off we go. Now they're going to go up and down. I need to change that there, got them down there, change that there and into the rocket. And all cleared in 17 seconds. So now I'm going to run away from the cat. And that's very easy, just trap the cat with the arrow. And this is very simple at the moment, but the game gets a lot more complicated very, very quickly. I believe you can get this on iPhone and Android as well these days. Dreamcast magazine were impressed with the game and said the multiplayer options, which I can't show you here, were the bread and butter of Choo Choo Rocket, and they said it was a very easy game to pick up and put down. They call the game shamelessly retro and monstrously addictive. Well, of course, it is retro now. Also, very, very cheap to buy. All these games are very affordable for the Dreamcast. I'm not showing you anything here that's expensive or difficult to get hold of. So, what's a Sega console without a Sonic game? Well, that'll be the Saturn then. Although they were developing a game for the Saturn called Sonic Extreme, which was canned, and then the same team, or one of the teams at Sega, went to work on this game, Sonic Adventure, which is the first 3D Sonic game. Came out in 1998, sold 2.5 million copies on a console that is regarded as a flop. Look at these gorgeous graphics here just for Stage 1 Emerald Coast. This game expands the Sonic universe in ways that some people don't like, and it has the characters speaking and so on, they have silly voices. Oh, if only those people had seen the trailer for the Sonic movie I saw in the week, you'd stop complaining about the cutscenes in Sonic Adventure. It has a really wonderful, fast-moving and colourful 3D world. The gameplay is quite linear. You have to run around. It's a Sonic game, but you have to run around these maps. It is a little bit too fiddly in the controls, if I tell the truth. You can fall off areas, and what you want in a Sonic game is linear speed without having to worry about the fiddly movements. That was always the thing about the original Sonic games, as opposed to Mario games. They weren't fiddly. You could just run if you wanted to. It is, though, a very attractive and fast game. One again, I do struggle a little bit with some of these 3D games because they do make me a little bit motion sickness, which explains why I don't cover too much of this kind of stuff on ChinnyVision. To this day, I still struggle with some games, but I love the way this mirrors the original Green Hill Zone colours as well, the greens and the blues and things like that. It is an attractive game, perhaps a little bit too fiddly, but if you've got a Sega console, you really need to own a Sonic game. So that's 5 affordable games that you can own for your Dreamcast, and people are screaming, oh, Shenmue, this, that, the other. That's not the point. This is just like a little 5-game introduction to the console. 5 games that are pretty good that you can play. Crazy Taxi is a seminal game, and the Dreamcast version is, for all intents and purposes, arcade perfect. Certainly the last time I played a rather battered version of the arcade cabinet, yes, graphically a little bit smoother, but not much. It basically is the Dreamcast version, and you've got the different game modes as well over the arcade. Soul Calibur is one of my very favourite fighting games. It looks so attractive. Again, it's got that Dreamcast look, all those colours, that smoothness, that anti-aliasing, and it has bags and bags of character. Hardened fighters will find it far, far too easy. But personally, if in one-player mode or playing as a friend, I think this is a really good 3D fighting game. It loses none of the fun of more traditional 2D games. Wet Tricks is a completely underrated classic for the Dreamcast. I really love it. You can really get into the zone with this game once you're used to it and just block out the whole world. Just you, the game in a darkened room, playing it for... you just lose track of time. I think it's completely wonderful, and the Dreamcast version is the definitive version of the game. Jet Set Radio, okay, I can't play too much of this game for the reasons I mentioned, but the bits I have played are really good fun. The control system is great. I really wish I could play it more, but I can't. But you should. Choo Choo Rocket is a really lovely puzzler game for the Dreamcast, overlooked and great multiplayer modes. And I believe some people even have still got private servers running you can dial in to play the multiplayer version. Probably not in the UK though. Sonic Adventure, well, for my money the best Sonic game's the original trilogy, but this is a really good leap into 3D for Sonic. The big question is, does it stand up against Mario 64? Possibly. It gives it a run for its money. Is it as good? Probably not. This game probably needed another few months of development to get it really bang on. But there's plenty of copies to buy online. It's very attractive and you're not going to complain for the price you can buy it for today. So that's 5 very affordable and easy to get hold of games for your Dreamcast that I think you should play. You may disagree, but I think these are 5 solid gold classics for Sega's final console system.